Hi guys. So we're going to continue to discuss animation and we're going to talk about the next kind of project for this week so that everybody is kind of on the same page as far as what we're going to be clarifying and continuing to do and animate so that everyone can kind of enhance their skills and get to a place of better understanding. So on the Bellwork page, which I have for you, I have laid out, excuse me, I didn't publish it. I have laid out for you everything that we will do this week, as I said in our live class. So up here, I have everything for you. And one of the things that I wanted to go through was the logo banner project, which is what is next. So we've already talked about flying plane. So we're going to talk about the logo banner real quick. I'm going to go through the rubric with everybody, and then I'm going to talk about adding sound to animations. So for the logo banner project, we are going to continue taking our logo that we were working on in class. If you happen to have those files, you can just choose one. If you do not happen to have one of your logos, or you did not take your logos with you, or you cannot access them for whatever reason, feel free just to find a PNG image of a logo to work with. I'm good with that. You may need to redraw pieces of it if you want to break it apart to animate different pieces of it of coming together. So you may need to take it into Photoshop to kind of manipulate it. So just kind of be aware of that. But we are going to create two banners, both 600 pixels by 200 pixels, which I have for you right here. I also am going to ask you to include sound, which I'm going to show you here in a minute, just to remind you how to do that. One banner is going to be 15 seconds. So that's going to be your long banner. It must have a minimum of 5 moving pieces. How you choose to break up those pieces are completely up to you. Strongly encourage you to storyboard. I'm going to provide you with storyboards for you to reference. If you don't have a printer, which I get because I don't have a printer at home. I don't see the point of having one at home. If you just want to take out, Post-its and post it, if you want to just get a scratch piece of paper and scratch paper, some storyboards, the best idea is to know kind of what you're going to do so that when you start and animate, you're not all over the place, that it makes sense, that you have a clear defined path. That's that pre-production and production that we've been talking about. You plan before you start. That way it's not a big hot mess, because I know if I don't have a plan, my stuff turns into a big hot mess. I'll be the first one to admit that. So 2 banners. 15 seconds long for the first one with 5 moving objects. Again, that is up to you. On the DM2 animation projects page, I have the 5-second, which I'm about to talk about, example for you to look at. The 5-second is going to have 3 moving pieces. So you see I have my logo kind of drop down, it bounces, and then the name kind of pops in and it bounces, and then I have the banner I create, or the pattern I created for the logo project as the 3rd piece that moves. Simple, easy, nothing we're trying to make it super complicated. Most of this is just a review of Digital Media 1 is where we're kind of taking it. I don't want to go crazy and ask you to do a whole bunch of new techniques. I want you just to be kind of take Digital Media 1, which remember, under the class website, DM1, animation projects. If you go back to this page for those who may need it, I have all of those shape tweens and motion path videos and the bouncing balls. And it's videos of me doing the projects for you to review, along with the tutorials, the written tutorials for those that want to reference that information again. For the logo banner, as I said, you're going to do the 2. One's going to be a 15-second and one's going to be just a quick 5-second logo. This is more about creativity. This is more about how do we take a brand, a logo, because we've spent a long time talking about logos. Now, how do we take those logos and we use them in multiple ways? When we think about Target, when you think about Nike, when you think about all these different companies, they take their logo and they use it. Target's probably one of my favorites, right? We've got that very simple red circle bullet, and they'll have their logo bounce all the way around, and you're going to see a lot of, they use it to animate a lot, and that's kind of where we're thinking here. For this, you're going to make 2, you're going to folder everything. So what we'll do is you will export it as an MOV, and then you're going to export your 2 animations into a folder, last name, first name, period, second or third, and then logo banners. And you're going to turn that into the shared Google Drive folder for your class so that I can get and take a look at these for you. Please don't turn in the animate files so that I get a complete picture of what it is you are wanting to show me. What I want to spend a couple of minutes doing is talking about sound, because one of the things that I am asking is for you to include sound. We did sound when we did the snowboarder project, which was that frame by frame animation of the snowboarder going down the hill in Digital Media 1. And I just want to review. With this version of Animate, things are a little different. So unfortunately, I learned the hard way. I went to go import the sounds in, which I've got those directions up for you. How to add sound library, I've got that along with the file for you. This is the Mac direction. I still have to add the Windows directions. I got to figure that one out because I don't use a Windows computer, so I have to always figure that out. But I want to make sure I get those directions for you guys so that you can add the sounds if you want. The reason I'm going to show you a different way, I'm going to show you this way, but then I'm going to show you a new way, because with this, for some reason, the file is older and you can't do start and stop syncs in the property, if you guys remember what I'm talking about. So I'll show you what I mean. So I've already added the human crowd. So we're going to go to File, Import, Open External Library. And I'm going to hide me so you guys can see the whole screen. And I've got my sounds file, and I'm going to say open, and it's going to open a panel that's got all these sounds in there for me. So I can kind of go through. I'm going to find the one I want, which I've already found, this human crowd, soft, and I'm just going to drag and drop into my library to be able to access it. I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to call this sound. Now, on frame 1, I'm going to drag my sound not to the layer. You see I get an ant sign. I'm going to drag it to my stage. And now it goes in. So when I play this, it continues. I'm going to right click right here and say Insert Keyframe. And under the properties, normally I would go to Sound, Human, Crowd, and I would say Sync, and I would say Stop. But it's grayed out. And because it's grayed out, I cannot quite figure out why. I will say I spent a good chunk of time looking into it, and I just think that the files are too old. So instead, what I've done to show you is, if you want to use sounds in a different way, what I did is I downloaded another, there we go, another sound file for me to work with. It's a small airplane flyby. And I'm going to drag that into my library so that I can use it this way, so I can show you. Okay. That's it. So I'm going to go to File. I'm going to make a new layer. File, Import to Stage. And I'm going to pull that small airplane sound, and I'm going to say Open, and there it goes. It loaded it in. Everybody see the orange? Okay. So I'm going to delete this one or hide it. Yeah, that worked really well. So what I want to do is I do want to stop the sound. It would continue. So I'm going to right click, insert a keyframe. In my properties panel, I'm going to select small airplane long flyby, event, stop. Well, guys, I thought that was going to fix it. It did not fix it. And I genuinely don't know why. Okay, so I had to pause for a second, because for some reason, when I opened the last file that I was working on, which is right here, whenever I tried to sync the sound and make it stop, it wasn't working. And sometimes process elimination, sometimes it's just, sometimes the file just is weird. We've learned this repeatedly, that sometimes files just go weird. So when you do your file and you say a new template, if the sound doesn't allow you to sync, I found that I had to do, I did just a standard canvas. This time I tried a standard preset under character animation, and that allowed it. And I made sure that I was under an ActionScript 3.0, and that let me sync the sound. I'm going to show you what I mean. So I'm going to say File, Import to Library. and I'm going to import in, and make sure when it says enabled here, make sure it switches to all files. That's like a quirky thing too. Sometimes you have to go back out and go back in. I don't quite know why this thing's being a silly thing. All openable formats is the other option. And then you can say open. I'm going to replace my existing items. Yours shouldn't say that because it should be the first time you import it in. So now you'll see that it's right here. I'm going to make a new layer on frame 1, and I'm going to drag it to the stage. And you see it's populated. I'm going to come to frame 50. I'm going to right click and I'm going to send insert keyframe. This is also, remember, F6 on your keyboard. Underneath the properties, I'm going to go to sound. I'm going to choose the name of my sound, a small airplane long flyby that I downloaded off the internet. And then I'm going to say stop. So now if I play this again, it's playing. It's just not playing loudly. If I play this again, it's going to stop rather than continuing the sound. So the other thing is I could drag this. If I drag this further down, I'll get more of it. You'll see that everything kind of continues. Remember that you can grab a keyframe. It is not my day, ladies and gentlemen. Sync, start. Let's try that. There it goes. And now it's going to play and it's going to abruptly stop at 75. If I were to continue another scene, that sound would continue into the next scene if I do not stop it. So it's really important to do those stops, and I wanted to make sure you could see how that works. Hopefully, when you do the sound library where I added that human crowd sound, it should hopefully work. I think mine's just being a little weird. Couple other things I just want to remind you about is, like I showed you, you can drag where those keyframes start to change things. The other thing is if you have everything selected and then you hit F6, remember that that's going to add a keyframe everywhere. And you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you are being very strategic about where you insert those keyframes. You also, let's say you did do what I just did. I'll do it again. And I'm going to hit F6 on my keyboard. Whoops, I added too many. I can right click and I can say clear frames, and it's going to clear out all of those frames in theory. Clear keyframe, and then it wipes everything out. Yeah, clear keyframes versus clear frames is very different. So I'll show you the difference between that. Like if I clicked here, see how I've got this now and it's just empty, but there's no keyframes. If I clear those frames, it empties out those frames again. And then I can highlight them again, and then I can say clear keyframes and it'll remove the keyframe as it was. If you get an animation you don't want, you right click and you say remove classic tween in order to get that tween gone. It is important to note though that you have to make sure that your animation goes into that keyframe. Remember that these highlighted arrows are going to tell you that you have a tween available or it's been processed. One other thing I wanted to show you really quickly was how to do a shape tween. Again, that tutorial is available to you in DM1, but I just thought I'd go through it real quick in case anybody wanted to morph one thing to another. I'm just going to show you one shape morphing to another shape. So I could have a circle that I have here. Remember that when you draw things, that the frame or the stroke is a separate piece from your image. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to take my fill and take it back up to 100 and change my color to like a peach color. And it's made up of these little dots. Hopefully you guys can see that. And that means it's broken apart, which means it's already in pieces. When we did the letters, that was not, and you had to right click and say break apart, but you can't break this apart because it's already broken apart. So on frame 1, which is where I am, I'm going to come down to frame 35 and I'm going to insert a keyframe. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to completely cover my circle with a rectangle this time, and I'm going to choose a new color so you can see that. I'm going to take my stroke and make it go away. And I'm going to cover my circle completely. I'm going to highlight keyframe 1 through keyframe 35, and you see that change right here, which I really like that. It tells you what frame you're on. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to say create shape tween. It's also up here, which is kind of nice, is over here you've got these different ones so that you don't have to right click, you can just click them. And you'll see now it's orange. So now when I play it, it's going to morph my circle into, and play my plane sound, into my rectangle. So that has a lot of usability for you when you're doing your logo banner activity that you're about to do. So that might be something worthwhile. See how it added that tween right here? So I'm just going to say remove tween right there so that it just is applied to the things I mean it to be applied to. So that's a pretty helpful thing. You can also do frame by frame animation. So if I did a new layer and I'm going to draw, I'll use another circle here in red. I'm going to hide this just so this gets out of our way. Remember that on frame 1, I can leave it here and I can add a keyframe on frame, say 5, and I can move my animation, and it'll move automatically if you continue this. So if I come down to frame 10 and I insert a keyframe, I can move it again. This is what I do with the bouncing. So for example, in that my example, I showed you where I showed the logo kind of bounced, right? So this is one of the ways that I do a bounce, is I might take this and move it down right here and move it here and have it hit the bottom, and then maybe just move one frame over and move it up just a little, go another frame over and move it down. And so that way, oh, see how it plays? It looks like it's bouncing. You know, I got this a little too subtle maybe. I've got this maybe a little too subtle. I'm going to delete that so that we can not be interfered with. And it keeps playing. I don't know where the sound is coming from. Like I said, I might have this a little too subtle, so it might be that, you know, maybe up here I drag it up just a little bit more so that it looks like it's bouncing, you know. So you got some different techniques you can use. Again, make sure you're referencing the DM2 or the DM1 tutorials that can help you. Let's talk about the rubric real quick. Again, I have that for you right here. So I've got everything for you. My goal is to put everything in one page. So underneath the rubric, it just kind of shows you what I'm looking for. You must use your logo. Now, this says you must use your logo. Again, if you do not have access to your logo, I am okay with using another one. So I will not, you know, kill you on that. Using tweens throughout, 15 seconds, 5 moving objects, sound, and your stage is set correctly. File management, again, you know, this says copy to the scales. That's just making sure that you've turned it in to your to the correct folder that I'm looking for. Office hours are from 1 to 2. I'm here if you need me, so don't hesitate. Happy to help you in any way that you need. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.